Hello and welcome to the Exante Diet Expert channel once more. Today I'd like to talk to you about the lifespan of a diet and how your body will react to a calorie restrictive diet and a calorie deficit. I'd like to speak to you about how to maximize your own ability to burn off your fat reserves and how to do it safely. And I'd like to talk to you about Exante and reassure you that it and diets of its type are not as severe as you might imagine, and that they will produce slower, steadier weight loss than you might have hoped for. But that's not a bad thing. So why is a slow, steady weight loss program more beneficial? Well, I think it's natural that when we begin our weight loss journey, many of us are excited, if not just a little bit obsessed, with the idea of shedding a large number of kilograms in a short period. One of the most popular search terms on Google is that people look for is how to lose weight fast. And they are prepared to follow the most restrictive eating plans and exercise regimes that are quite severe and unhealthy in the pursuit of this goal. Some of them are even quite bizarre. How many of you, for instance, have heard of the egg diet? Eat nothing but eggs for 7 days and the weight will fall off. It's a miracle. I tried it, but the mistake I made was that I used Cadbury's cream eggs, not chicken eggs. Seriously, you yourself might have been drawn to the Exante diet because such a drastic low-calorie diet made you think that the weight would just fall off in a couple of months. Maybe you thought you could then resume your previous lifestyle with a few notches on your belt to spare to grow into. You might also develop the idea that if you were capable of dropping your weight so rapidly, what's the harm in pigging out for the next 6 months and then dieting it back off again? What might come as a surprise to you, however, is that slow weight loss is a much healthier alternative than losing it quickly. It might also come as a surprise to you that the Exante diet will only, mathematically speaking, produce a 2 to 3 pounds a week weight loss for many people. I'll explain that because it's a bit of a shock. We're all aware of BMI, weight in kilograms divided by the square of the height in centimeters of the person involved. They use arbitrary zones to divide people into sectors depending on the answer, so that will let you know whether you're overweight or obese or morbidly obese. BMR is slightly different. Think of your car engine idling. The engine needs to keep turning over at a predetermined number of revolutions per minute in order to keep itself running and stop from stalling and causing damage. The fuel required to keep it at idling speed is quite easy to calculate. And when it comes to your body, BMR is the amount of fuel measured in calories that are required to keep your body at idling speed and stop it from shutting down. You need to go to a website called bmrcalculator.org to find out your own BMR. I did, and my BMR, based on my age, my height, my weight, is 2,259 calories a day. Yours will be different, so make sure you know what it is. Don't rely on mine unless you're the Tweedledee to my Tweedledum. My basal metabolic rate tells me that in order to stay alive, I need 2,259 calories a day. But Exante gives me more or less only 800 calories a day. And from this, we can establish that I have got a calorie deficit of 1,459 calories per day. Now, a pound of fat contains 3,500 calories approximately. So my body requires the energy from the proportion of 1,459 over 3,500 So roughly 2/5 of a pound of fat per day. So 1 pound of fat will last me about 2.5 days, simply to feed my calorie deficit. I hope you're keeping up with this. Now, so following that, I should lose 2.8 pounds a week if I stick to the diet rigidly and if I'm stuck to the settee at home. Because the basal metabolic rate doesn't allow for anything extra that you do other than staying alive. So the website also talks about how exercise can increase your BMR. Moderate, easy exercise, which is defined as 3 to 5 times a week, walking or swimming for half an hour at a time, will lift my BMR so that I burn 3,500 calories a day, which is an extra 1,200 calories a day, or 8,400 a week. And if you divide that by 3,500, you will get an extra 2.4 pounds of fat burnt a week. If you prefer to put that 5.2 pounds into metric, that's a loss of 2.4 kilos a week. And that extra has been gained or lost by walking only half an hour once every other day. Now you can predict your own weight loss and set your own realistic targets by using these calculations. A slower weight loss is more beneficial, no matter how impatient you are. Much of the weight loss in the first few weeks of a diet, which is always higher, is due to your body using up the liver's stores of glycogen, which is the base ingredient of glucose, which is your body's favourite fuel. In order to get this glycogen converted and usable, water is needed, and so much of the initial weight loss on a diet is achieved by water diluting the glycogen and then being used by the body. Carry on with your diet and the weight loss is not so dramatic and spectacular. This is not because you aren't trying. It's not because the diet has stopped working and you are not failing. But the diet will be working at a much more sustainable level through the calorie deficit that we already spoke about. Of course, if your level of activity rises, you will burn your fat reserves much more quickly, but this should only ever be done under medical advice because of the strain already put on your system as it adapts into being a fat burning machine. If you try too hard too soon, you are going to find yourself in all kinds of hurt. So take advice on this. Increase your levels of physical activity under medical supervision only and medical advice only, which will almost always include the words slowly and caution. But if you do and you succeed, your body will lose weight more rapidly than if it remains sedentary. Kind of natural, isn't it, really? It's kind of logical. Now remember that as your weight decreases, so will your basal metabolic rate, meaning that your need for calories will also decrease. Your calorie deficit will decrease naturally as well. And now this is going to result in less weight loss because your body is requiring less and less of your stored fat in order for it to keep things working. So this is the time when you should be increasing your fat burning by increasing your activity and managing your weight and your calorie intake dependent on your needs and not by some imaginary standard for calorie requirements for the average adult, etc. Now, once you've gained control, you'll be able to manage your weight easily. And this is where I'm going. You'll see where I'm going with this soon. Your engine won't be running poorly. You'll be able to control how much fuel it receives and, of course, how much you choose to burn. And if you can remember that we're talking about the link between cars and diet, introducing the word crash is never a good thing, whether it be crashing a car or having a crash diet. 800 calories a day sounds severe, and if we weren't so rotund with, in my case, buckets of lard to melt down, it would be. But even as severe as it is, it's still only going to lose 2 or 3 pounds a week, which is not in itself unhealthily fast and not going to produce problems with skin and all those sorts of things. It's manageable, it's sustainable in the short to medium term. And when it comes to making the change back to a more regular diet, we need to have educated ourselves in how to manage our weight better than we previously did. As you know, the Exante September Challenge is now on, and the purpose of it is to reduce our reliance on the scales, for letting us know how we're coping with the diet. We should know that already. To be fair, we have a pre-prepared plan to stick to, and the scales won't tell us anything we didn't already know. The body can undergo wild fluctuations over the course of the day, or even the week, and not counting myself of course, but a woman's menstrual cycle can have an impact on water retention, and therefore, as water weighs 1 kilo per litre and the amount retained fluctuates so much, why would you rely on a daily weigh-in for an accurate report on your diet? You already have it. You know whether you stuck to it or not. It might surprise you, but if you check with a dietitian at some stage, quite soon you're going to need to increase your calorific intake if you want to continue to lose weight. Now that sounds the wrong way around, but it's not. Bear with me. If you've ever sat and watched the needle on your rev counter on your car, you might see it moving up and down and the revs rising and falling. Well, that's the sign of fuel starvation, and your engine is programmed by its onboard computer to blip the revs up and down in order to prevent it from stalling. And engine stalling is not so serious. Your body stalling is very serious indeed. But your body has got a fail-safe mode though. It will go into starvation mode, and your metabolic rate will slow right down. In short, it's going to learn to survive on a drastically reduced calorie intake, and this will stop you from losing more weight, which is what people know as a diet plateau. It's pretty unfair. So what we're going to need to do when that happens is to increase the amount that we eat, so that the calorie deficit is still there, but not quite so much in deficit that the body freaks out and panics. So we have to keep it in that fat burning state before it goes into the starvation rate. They say for a woman, and this is what I was talking about earlier, for a woman this is 12 to 1500 calories a day, and for a man 1500 to 1800 calories a day, which I found on a website. And I'm not sure I agree with it. I'm not sure, first of all, that kind of gender division applies anymore, and I'm not being woke about it. I'm just suggesting that the hard physical labour that used to divide the sexes probably isn't such a clear divide anymore. Make of it what you will, but my suggestion is this, and it's only a theory and would need you to tweak it yourself individually, is to go for between 1200 to 1500 calories a day, irrespective of your gender, only increasing it if your physical workload is particularly heavy. Now bear in mind that we've already established that my basal metabolic rate is 2259. If I'm on 1500, I would still be losing weight. When you do raise your calorie intake though, try to concentrate on increasing the amount of protein you eat and not carbohydrates, and never refined carbs. This is another lesson we need to learn. Refined carbs are foods such as pasta, rice, baked goods and ready meals. Try whenever possible to substitute those for unprocessed carbs such as fruit and vegetables, and even then there's a difference. I heard somebody say once as well, and it made sense regarding vegetables, that if it grows above the ground, eat it. If it grows beneath the ground, leave it behind, as it will be high in sugars and normally needs to be cooked, which removes many of the vitamins, minerals and nutrients anyway. So it becomes empty. Anyway, I'm sure that today I've given you food for thought as opposed to thoughts about food. In short, go long term. Use Exante for 3 months at its most extreme, then consider reintroducing food. Now, not giving up on Exante entirely, but reintroduce food maybe for one of the meals or two of the meals or something like that, lifting your calorie intake. Stay in calorie deficit, but begin to also increase your activity levels, because this, even simple walking, will help with your mental health, reducing depression, for instance. And it's important to notice that mild exercise also reduces stress. And here's another one for you. Stress is known to trigger responses in your body that encourage it to pile on the pounds. How unfair is all this? So, all right, so we do a bit of physical activity, less depression, less stress, lower blood pressure, the increased ability for your blood sugar to control itself naturally, lower cholesterol, a speeding up of your metabolism. It massively reduces the incidence of heart attacks and strokes. And I think from that list, you can begin to work out what phase 3 of my Exante diet will consist of. I will be introducing quite a bit of moderate physical activity. Now, I'd be very interested in finding out what you think of this video and to hear your own opinions and maybe some suggestions as well, please. So please comment below or join Club Exante on Facebook and start a discussion there. One additional thing on Club Exante that I'd like to introduce is for people to be able to use the page to swap or sell Exante products that they no longer want. Now that the numbers of members are growing, hopefully we'll be able to do that for one another. So if you have any that you want to exchange or to sell, please consider listing them on there. So that's about all of it for today. I hope I'm giving you too much of a headache. I hope you've enjoyed the video. And you know what to do on YouTube if you like something. Hopefully I'll be able to do another video tomorrow. Take good care of yourselves and stick to the diet. Make today a perfect day. That's one more. Chat soon. Bye bye.